Hello, Tamara. Wow, man, you redecorated so fast. That's
I know
unbelievable.
that. Well, I had my outfit matching my background and my lipstick, so it's I don't know, it's a woman thing. So
Well, you
nice
have
to
to.
meet you.
Well, I changed my background too. You're probably looking at a green screen, but right now I'm sitting in front of my guitar. So, hey, but I'm kind of floating in space too, and I think you're kind of floating too. Well,
Okay.
Tamara Caulder Richardson, welcome to the Edge program, and I think we'll have a pretty entertaining discussion tonight. And you may have some answers or some experiences that may help enthuse our viewers, say, for maybe trepidation they would have what's on the other side, maybe something like that. Would that be true?
I think that's true. Absolutely. Before we started, can you hear me pretty good?
I can hear you fine. How about the people watching the program? We've just put it in the live chat, and if you have an issue there, but it looks by our meters here, look like everything's running fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, I tell you, you feel like you almost have to have a roll after having six near-death experiences, but either I like it a lot over there or they like me a lot over there. But they kept kicking me back to the curb, so here I am.
I'm glad they like you over there. I imagine if they didn't, you might be heading to a hotter place than up there. I mean,
Well,
you'd need some air conditioning.
I never thought about that. That is a good point. Actually, you're the only one who's brought that up. It's funny. There are, a lot of different dimensions. I know even with like your show and so forth, you talk to people that have had alien encounters. And
Hmm.
so, I mean, there are different dimensions, different universes. There's not just heaven and hell. And there's a lot in between and gradients. But I will tell you that, especially the one when I was 5, I went to a place that looked like paradise. And that's the one that they talk about, in the Bible, how paradise is what
Hmm.
it looked like. I mean,
Hmm.
everything was perfect looking. It looked like a park, and everything was very green and lush and uh, more colors than here.
Now I have heard that with other guests that have near-death experiences, they said that the colors are extremely bright. And now somebody said that had a near-death experience that said that when they went to heaven that the flowers actually were singing. I don't know if that are there flowers up there or no.
Okay, so I've had a few near-death experiences, and it wasn't because I was weakly or anything. It's just kind of the way it would happen. I personally think that I wanted to kind of check in with them over there. That's what I'm thinking. But when I was 5, I'll mention that one. I got a fever. So if anyone that's curious if they ever had a near-death experience, go to that time you in childhood where you're missing a couple days, other than the whole, alien abductee thing, but you're missing a couple days, you had a fever right around there, but had a fever, got to close to 105 and it was like 104.9. And at the time, my dad, it was funny because I grew up in a broadcast family in radio and TV. And so they moved to Raleigh, North Carolina at the time, and he was with WKIX. And so I got this fever at the. This is really nuts with everything going on these days. But there were riots going on during my near-death experience, and it was the night that Martin Luther King died. And so you had a curfew. They had National Guard. You couldn't go out. So I am giving away my age, but that's okay. And finally, he said, "Look, I have what is it, a media car, with the letters on it and everything." He said, "We'll just, we'll use that." So we were literally, there were barricades, and you had to go through each section where they had barricades. And I died on the way in the car, and I literally saw the fires and the riots above the car. So I went to the hospital above the car,
Hmm.
and I lost consciousness, and then I died. And then when they took me there, I was already dead. I heard them say that I had been dead 15 minutes, so DOS, dead on arrival. And they said code blue and a bunch of terms, but I did the whole watching the body from above, and then saw what they were doing, and they were pumping stuff out of my lungs and all that. And then I would go zooming around the hospital. Honestly, I was mildly interested. I really wasn't that interested. But when I finally, seems odd because right now I really want to be here. I'm really interested in being here. But um, yeah, in that state, I felt very free. And I saw other spirit people in the hallway that were, I guess they used to be, I saw policemen and nurses, I guess they used to work there. And come to find out, there used to be an older hospital that was there, but they tore that down and built this new one. It was in Raleigh. But when
Mhm.
I finally crossed over, it was instant. I was looking back and forth. I was checking on people. I was having a blast. I was talking to other spirit people.
Whoa.
And I was looking at a candy machine. And then I saw two. They were Catholic. They were, it was a nun, a sister, and a priest, or because I remember their outfit, what they had on. Now, I uh, was somewhat raised Presbyterian, but I knew that to be, their outfit, what it was. They were spirit people. So they must come to find out it was a Catholic hospital from way back. So when people say they take their job seriously, um, they came back and they said, "Blessed are the children." But as soon as they said that, and people were crying in the room, and the nurses, I guess I was dead, but right beside me, I was in a different place. It looked like paradise, and it was instant. And right beside me was Jesus. So, and I spent 3 days in a coma, and I spent it with him. So it was pretty amazing.
All right. So you were 3 days in a coma, but you ended up spending those 3 days with Jesus.
Well, yeah, because I was in a coma. I mean, my body was there, but my spirit was hanging out with him.
Hmm.
And when he would walk, first of all, he told me I had to go back, and I argued because I wanted to stay there. But he said I had to go back, and I was like, I want to be here. And then I saw other children playing that they looked like on a seesaw. And he said, no, you have to go back for your mother. And I went, well, they're here. Why can't I stay here? And so he said, your mother needs you because you need to show her love. And I'm like, how do you do that? And he's like, well, there's no right or wrong way to do that. He said, that's a little something I know about. I thought it was kind of funny. But as we walked, he said, okay, you can stay here a little longer. So as we walked, every blade of grass followed him, and every flower, like it had life. Every petal had life. The clouds were following him. And I was thinking, does he know that they're all following him? Does he realize that? But we walked around and he told me things, and he said I could ask him anything. And then we sat on this rock where this big tree was. And I think it was the tree of life because he said, this is a tree that's very wise. We don't eat from it. And I was thinking, well, I wasn't planning on eating from it. But we sat there, and he said that we create with our heaven and earth, that we create with our minds, and that you should be mindful of your words and what you speak, because what you speak forth is what you manifest. He said it takes longer on earth, and it's immediate there. And I said, like how? So he let me give an example, and I thought of a boat, and then we were in a little boat together. And then I was thinking, let's go fishing. And 3 little fish came up, and he picked one up, kind of talked to it, and put it back down. And he said, that's how we fish here. But he talked quite about a lot of things, and he talked about energy. He talked about a lack of love here. All the things you would think that he would talk about.
Hmm.
He did talk about a lot of things. He talked about energy. He talked about energy goes where energy flows. Make sure that you focus on positive things, because if you focus on the negative stuff, you're going to draw that towards you. But he was kind of funny too. He was like really down to earth.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, I wouldn't want to be at the end of his wrath. Could be snap his fingers and
No,
all
he
this.
was really like a really fun person. I mean, he was
Hmm.
like really chilling, and he was very glowy. Like he had an inner glow,
Hmm.
and I don't know, he just had a glow to him. But he had really good teeth. I remember that. He had really pretty eyes. We had really great teeth, and you never see him smile. but he like smiles and laughs a lot.
See what you reminded me of is an early episode of Star Trek. There's this like late teenager that had this power, and if you made him mad, he'd squint real hard, and you just disappeared into nothing. You know, so
Oh my gosh, I just saw that episode 2 weeks ago.
really, wow.
It was the older Star Trek, and matter of fact, there's another one that's similar to Twilight Zone where he would wish people in the cornfield.
Mm-hmm.
On the Twilight Zone, it was similar. I just saw that episode. Yeah.
Well, that's synchronicity right there. Okay, now this might be a tongue-in-cheek question. As you may or may not know, we do get questions of people watching the show in our chat. So it could be tongue-in-cheek, don't know. But the question is from Doreen, did you see Elvis?
No, but I will tell you this. Look, I know people are going to say, what about reincarnation? What about coming back? I've had 300 hours of past life. Is there a past life, other dimensions? I can't answer that. But I know there are famous people there because they come through in readings all the time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I don't know who they are, you know, mm-hmm. and they'll come through, give evidence. So, you know, I would say part of his consciousness was probably there. Is he back here? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of famous people that do.
I had my oldest brother died a couple of years back, and while he was in hospice, he said to no one there, he said, well, there's my brother right there, which is another brother that passed, one of my other brothers that passed before him. So is it possible, and I've heard this before, where people are in hospice or on their deathbed and they see a relative, of course nobody else seems to be able to see them. Of course, now doctors would say they're just hallucinating. I don't really think they are, but is that a case where heaven sends them down to reassure the person that's getting ready to die that it's going to be okay on the other side?
Absolutely. It's really common to see. Here's the thing: spirit people are all around us, and most people can't see them. In a way, I used to see them. I said, God, please don't show me them all the time, because you got to live in this world. You got to grocery shop. You got to live a normal life. You can't be like, oh my God. It's kind of disturbing. But what I find, like people, I can if they're on hospice, a lot of times the room is really crowded with spirit. And I think like with me, and there's it's common for a lot of near-death experiencers to come back with abilities like seeing spirit, or maybe they can magically play a bunch of musical instruments they could never do before, or they're really good at numbers. Mm-hmm. With me, I just lost my filter between this world and the other world. But I, tried to hide it. But yeah, they draw close when someone is ill, and they want you to know that they love you. I mean, the only language at the higher levels, like in heaven, the higher levels is love. That's it. So they love us. There's more love there than here. Hmm. So
wait a minute. I'm not a psychic or anything, but I think there's more love on the other side than there is here too.
Yeah. That's
an easy call to make, man, for sure. Let's get to a couple more questions for you. Yep. Tamara Caulder Richardson. This is from Raul Sanchez out of the live chat. It says, Tamara, are there houses in heaven?
It's funny. Yeah, it's really crazy. There are, but they're not composed of like wood, brick, and mortar. I don't know what they're made of, but they are. I think it's that whole envisioning, what you think, you create it, whatever you want. There was a movie, what is it, Where Dreams Come or something, with Robin Williams. It's kind of like that. You create it, but I have seen it. I've seen it with my grandmother, showing me like a Swedish village, and she's out there working on her garden. She goes, I always wanted something like this, and I'm like, okay. But you can create the environment that you want. If you want the mountains, some people, they love the forest because they like riding horses. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do stuff over there. They paint, mm-hmm. they ride horses. All I know is that when I was there, I was not an orb. I was fully a person, but I could breathe, and I felt a lot of joy, and I felt complete.
Mm-hmm. Tamara Caulder Richardson, did you feel like you were chosen in any way to have these near-death experiences so you could get some understanding?
Chosen. Wow, these are tough. I think we all co-create with God. I think it's probably something my soul agreed to way before I came in. And I think well, first of all, we all agreed to something. No, we don't agree to get sick or to have cancer. We don't agree to that. But maybe somewhere down the line in our soul's development that we didn't have, we were not a nice person. Maybe we didn't have a sensitivity to the others. So in order to learn that, we agreed to get the lesson. We didn't know what the lesson is. You know what I mean? So we do all agree to something. And the way that I look at it is most people aren't just here and they just die.
Mm-hmm.
There's hiccups along the way. You get older, things wear out, you know.
Oh.
So at some point, it's very highly likely that most people are going to at least have one. Because you just don't hear it, boom, you're dead. Generally.
Yeah.
If you live long enough.
So do you feel like you're a better person for having these near-death experiences?
Interesting question. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I think that personally, I was probably really hard-headed, and this is what it took to kind of wake me up. I think that it caused me to, it's a tough ladder to climb because, what is it? What is the price of awareness? Is awareness, because now you see all the crap going on too. What I mean? And you see through things, and I've even got a lot of prophecy about like what's coming up and blah blah blah. And I'm like, what do I do with this? Because it's not exactly great. So
let me ask him. I want to ask you a question related to what you just said a few minutes ago. So if people say they want to go to, they want a forest heaven, they want a river heaven or whatever. I mean, what if some guy says, I want a bar heaven? I mean, I'm trying not to be facetious, but I mean, is there any limit to what somebody can say, this is my heaven?
Yeah, you said it. It's your heaven. So I think it's customized. I don't really want to go here, but not everybody goes to heaven. I don't mean to be ugly, but they don't. I'm just saying they just don't.
Okay. All right. Let's get to another question. Gil says, Tamara, what actor does Jesus look like? Does he look like Jim Caviezel?
Oh my God, this is so hysterical. Okay, this is so funny. We got this running joke in my family here because I like the one that's the Son of God, Jesus, and which my husband's like, I always kid on stage when I do my medium demonstrations. I do a lot of stage stuff across the U.S. and I'll go, the only man I leave my husband for is Jesus. And my husband goes, yeah, you like the Brad Pitt version of Jesus. So the guy who did Son of God, but he does look like that. Actually, I know this sounds crazy, but whatever. It was 2 years ago. I saw him in person in the flesh, and I was so shocked. I didn't believe it, honestly. And I saw him, and he's really handsome. I saw him again. I was going to a Hall & Oates concert with my husband, and we were driving downtown Charlotte, North Carolina. And we were driving. I was looking for a parking place. It was like July, around 6:30 p.m. because the show started at 7. And it's like I had to rest. I was like looking for a parking place, and it's like my soul knew before I didn't see anything. I went, my Lord, like it just like to rest. And then I don't even know why I did that. And then I looked in the distance, a little teeny person. And I'm like, no way, I can't believe it, I can't believe it. So as we get closer, and he's in the middle of the road where the grass is, and, there's, road on each side, and we're going down, there's condos and stuff. And I'm going, no, it can't be. I'm thinking, maybe he's a metrosexual, like Jesus hippie person. So I was looking for jewelry. And then as I got closer, he was glowy, but he had on modern clothes. It was like a white gauze top with pockets to his thighs and a dark khaki pants and sandals, but they were not Jesus sandals like hippies wear. They were not like that. They were just one band across like leather. They were more like a band, but his hair was down to here, but it would look like a that Brett commercial. Well, I'll tell somebody and you tell somebody, and his hair was bouncy. I mean, he had the most bouncy hair.
Wow.
But I looked at him, and now I'm over the seat with my butt up in the air, gawking at this person. And I'm going, I can't believe it. And after I went through everything it could possibly be, a normal person would look at me and laugh or go, what are you looking at? But he just looked straight through me. And then I'm hysterically crying and laughing. And so I hit my husband and said, look, quick. And as I went like that and looked, he was gone.
Wow.
And he was a solid person. Solid.
Did anybody else see this figure?
No, but I'll tell you what's cool. I thought, what was that? I knew he couldn't leave no matter who he was, right? No matter who he was. No one could leave that fast. Of course, angels can be people, right? They said that in the Bible. They can be people.
Yeah, I guess.
So why couldn't he be a, whatever, solid? So I never said anything.
Well, Tamara, what I try not to do, like in situations like yours, is say that can't happen, because I wasn't there. So somebody who's watching the program would say, Jesus wouldn't do this and Jesus wouldn't do that. I'm thinking, did he tell you he wouldn't? And they say, well, there's a scripture where he did something in a particular situation, but then you have to see, well, is that particular situation an exact copy? And then does Jesus say, I got to do exactly what I did 2,000 years ago in this passage of scripture? I mean, I have a tendency not to tell God what he can do, what he likes to do, where you go. I don't tell him where. I don't tell him where to go. I don't tell him he can't come in this dimension. I don't do like that because, like I say, I don't want to be boom. I don't want to be zapped out of here. So I try to be nice to him.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Well, this is the thing. I didn't ever say I want to see you, but I had this running joke for about 3 years with him, and I knew a couple of people. I knew this priest, and every time we'd take a picture, we'd see like Jesus in the background. And then I had talked to someone else, a near-death experiencer, who was an atheist, and he showed up at the end of their bed. So I made a joke. It was a running joke in my head, like, man, you just show yourself to everybody else. Like, I was almost like a kid at Christmas that all the kids got a gift but me. And I was like making a joke. I really didn't expect it. But the cool part is this. So a year after that, I'm the director of, in the Charlotte area, the International Association of Near-Death Studies. So I had a meeting, and this new woman and her friend came from out of town. And she came up to me. And a guy said, you need to meet her because she sees Jesus all the time. I was like, oh, okay. So I was talking to her, and she seemed very nunly, not like me. I'm kind of like out there. But she seemed very nunly type person. And, kind of plain looking, very sweet, quiet. And she said, I had this dream where Jesus was in a medium in the middle of the road. And there was this girl, she was like hysterical, and she was crying, and she was in joy. And she goes, was that you? I went, yeah. Like, I didn't know her at all. And she's like, I was supposed to tell you that was real. Mm-hmm. I thought that was crazy. Because I didn't know that woman.
Okay. All right, let's get to another question. Tony in Louisiana says, Tamara, how about a kid on his deathbed saw his dead sister who was never told he had a sister?
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Right.
Did I read that right?
So maybe, okay. Unless they want to verify this. So,
yeah.
So either it could be what the person is saying, that he didn't know he had a sister, right, or he didn't have a sister that maybe he wasn't born or passed. It was over there. That's common. It's funny. Many times when I do my medium readings, it's a little. It's more common than you think. I have children come through that have not been born, but what they do is they grow up in heaven to like a certain age. People go, what age? I'm like, I don't know. There's no real age there, but whatever an adult looks like. But they'll come through. I did one, I remember it was in South Carolina. Before I get there, I was getting the hate mail. Like I was like a demon lover or something. I don't know. I was getting the hate mail. I was like,
well, let's just wait a minute. Let's just go ahead and talk about it for a second. Are you a demon lover?
No, apparently everyone that's watching know I love Jesus. I'm also an ordained Christian minister. So
okay. So do you have a comment for those that are saying you're talking to the devil? Do you have?
Yes.
How do you respond to that?
I do. I think, I feel sorry for them because I think they're in fear because God gives everybody special gifts. And I've been this way since 3 years old. And God doesn't make mistakes. And the other thing is, I look, Billy Graham used to love using the Bible. What was it? The King James Version. after the King James in the 70s, they changed the word to medium. It always said sorcerer and witchcraft and whatever. And then I even looked at the history of that back in the Bible, and the history of like necromancy. And they used to do weird things like tell in the future they would kill an animal and take the entrails, and then they would read people. This is not this. I think that people there are some people out there that can see the future, or that know things, or that see, they can't help it. And for years, I really didn't want this. But if it gives people relief to know that their loved ones are watching over them, and that there is a place that's better than this, and they can get evidence.
Well, that doesn't sound like a demonic message that heaven is real.
Yeah, exactly. You would think. And then I get the people that get upset because I talk about heaven. So, you just can't win.
All right. And by the way, I think the question there about the sister came from the movie, the movie and the book, Heaven is Real. I think I guess that happened in that movie. I guess that's the end of that one there.
Yeah, that was beautiful. When I saw that part, I've seen that movie several times, I just started crying. Oh my gosh. That is just absolutely beautiful. And actually, I believe that I don't know if she had a miscarriage or whatever, but they will come through in evidence. What I was saying was in South Carolina, they were skeptical. However, when it was done, they're like, "We love you." And I'm like, okay, well, all right. That's great now. But so there was a little girl that came through. So there's a little blonde-haired girl. She's about this age. She says, "My mom and her two brothers are here, and I want to connect with them and say how much I love them." And she started giving the date of right around whatever this happened, miscarriage or whatever. A lady that you would not expect. I'm really surprised she raised her hand, and she was like a Pentecostal, raised her hand, and she said, "That would be me, and I have two sons," because I know exactly. And then the little girl brought her daddy in and some other people. So that's what they do when there's so many that are around each person all the time.
Now, for me as a host, I'm not saying that I'm making the case for you or against you. I just simply want to be fair. I mean, you have stories, and to me, they're just as valid as anybody else I've talked to. I can say that there's an event in the Bible where Mary and I guess Jesus was getting ready to be born, and then the Magi came through there, but then Mary and Joseph and Jesus, and then I think God miraculously pulled them out, but he also made a way for the Magi to escape with him, and I believe the Magi were magicians. So I'm not sure, not make the case. I'm just saying that is in there. So someone more expert can talk about that. Let's get to another question. This is from Doreen. When you saw Jesus, did you see any wounds in his hands?
Very good question. I saw him twice. Out of my 6 near-death experiences, all the others I saw angels and relatives, but I saw him twice. The other one, I did see the wounds in the hand, because I was at a lower vibrational level. The level where I was dead, was at that level of heaven. And I do believe children go immediately to heaven immediately. They're innocent. He had no wounds because I was at the higher level. But when I was it was not a good 3 years, 3, 4, 5, had near-death experiences 3 in a row. But it was the fourth one. It was when I was 4. I was in a wreck, a car wreck, and went through the windshield and lodged in there, and I was cold and disoriented, and I went through what it felt like a tunnel. I don't know if it's a tunnel, but it felt like a tunnel. And then I saw a pin light, and then it got brighter, and then I saw Jesus coming toward me, and as he was coming toward me, he had the holes in his hand, but his hair was being blown back like he was in a rock star video, like the fan was on him, and he had that. He was moving toward me, and he had people behind him, and then he had the marks in his hands, and he said I had to go back, and I did want to go back, but then when I saw him, I changed my mind. I said, "No, I want to go with you," and then he said, "You're going back." He was kind of stern. He went, he said, "You are and you will." And he like a parent, kind of strong.
Yeah.
And he said, "But I'll always be with you." And I was like,
once again, I wouldn't argue with him if he says you're going back.
I argue a lot. It's a wonder he has any patience with me.
Well, now see, that's not out of the ordinary with what I mean. This show's been on since 2004 and over 1,000 interviews. So I've had numbers of
Yes.
NDEs on the program, and those that saw Jesus or that went to heaven came back. Many of them report that they're told to go back. Now, some have said that they were given a choice. You know, you could stay and lock your life into what it is right now, or you can go back, maybe do something better or something more important, or we have another job for you. Then when you're done there, then you can lock that in at maybe, I don't want to say a higher vibration, but I would say a higher level. And there is some indication in the Bible that there are levels or gradations of people, and so you know, some will receive few rewards, and some will receive a lot of rewards. I'm not sure. I may have to. Mine might get ordered. I might have to give mine back. You know, so I don't know if I got one or not. All right, Australian Ben, previous guest on the program, asked this question here. It says, Tamara, is the dark tunnel of death a vacuum to heaven? Do demons reach in attempting to snatch souls along that journey?
Okay. So I can tell you what happened to me, and then I can tell you what I think that answer might be. You know, I think that what the tunnel is really actually some kind of portal, if you want to call it. Feels like a portal. Now, I will tell you that all mediums are portals to other worlds. You just want to make sure you connect to 111 God. Make sure your portal's clean.
Yeah.
To me, I do know that, yeah. You know, should I bring it up? Sure. Years ago.
I'll bring it up.
Great.
That's what we're
I
here
used
for.
to ghost hunt. Well, I'm trying to be honest. I'm trying to give of myself and answer this gentleman correctly. Okay.
Very good.
I'm trying to be honest. You know, good or bad. Years ago, for a couple years, I ghost hunted, and I would get the history of the building and blah 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 blah. Well, I saw all these lost souls. Well, you know, I wasn't very popular at ghost hunting because I kept trying to cross them over. I didn't want them to be, you know, I felt sorry for them. But I do know that there are darker things that exist. Demons definitely exist. I have done several deliverances. They're horrible. I've seen eyes go blank, voices change to things electronic that are, it's just terrible. Mm-hmm. That's why we have angels. And I saw angels in all my other ones. And the angels get you to safe passage because, yeah, they do. They want your soul. And so when ghosts stay here, and get people that say let's just say there's someone in life, we all know one, that's just they're just a complainer. They're just not happy. Mm-hmm. They're a sourpuss. Let's don't even say they're a bad person. They're just a complainer. They're not happy. They're confused. They've just got problems in life.
We all know
like
those people.
Country song. Mm-hmm. You know, the dog died, and so they can't keep a man. You know, I mean, it's like a country song. So that person instantly dies, right? Mm-hmm. Well, they were already screwed up before they died. Mm-hmm. So now they died. You think all of a sudden they're going to get with it? So if they linger as a ghost too long, and God sends his angels and so forth, and relatives sometimes to help them cross over, if they don't, that many times demons will try to wrangle them in.
Wow.
They wrangle up. Isn't that awful? Yeah, it's not cool.
Well, I know that Howard Storm, when he's on his program, said that he got wrestled with some demons, and you know, I tried to get out of him, and I don't know. I know he's done a lot of interviews, but I don't know if he ever really said what happened to him. But he said they were clawing at him in hell because he was brought down to hell. He was a non-believer, I guess, an atheist, party goer guy. But they said they were dragging him and clawing him. Then he was starting to sort of suggest they were doing other things to him, and we'll just leave that there. But he never would say how bad that was. So hopefully people won't go to the dark side. But
no, right. Well, I've interviewed Howard a couple times, and I actually have it on my Seeking Heaven YouTube thing, and he did answer some of that. But I asked him because people were asking. Right. Mm-hmm. What about, because we did it, you know, where people could interact some. And so they were asking, and that one of the questions was, were they demons? He said he felt them to be evil people.
Wow.
In a darker place. Mm. But he did say, he's very funny. He's such a sweet, gracious man. Yeah. But I just adore him. But he said that these wicked people that were in a hellish type place.
They weren't anti-fall, were they?
They were what now?
They weren't anti-fall, were they?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
I don't know about
All
that.
right, go ahead.
Uh,
Thought I'd throw that in.
but we're talking about, oh, they were talking about how cute his butt was, which and he started laughing about that. He said, but they were just, he did say they started ripping his flesh, but he said that he didn't really know any prayers or anything.
Right.
He's tried to say, what was it, the Lord's Prayer, and they got confused with the American, Pledge of Allegiance.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Jesus, showed up and saved him. So he
Mm-hmm.
was a good person to be saved by. But yeah, he was in a bad place. But he still communicates with Jesus like I do.
Oh,
So,
really?
but Jesus talks to everybody.
Mm.
If they just listen, he says, "You're not listening."
Mm-hmm.
That's what he tells people. You're not listening.
Well, see, now there you go. I've heard the voice of the Lord twice for absolute sure, and so I can't say that you didn't. So there you go. I'm an experiencer of some sort here. But let's get to some more questions. Says, was Jesus of any particular race? Could you see any race issue with him? Is he? And I don't even like to talk about race these days. It's almost a
I
loaded
know
question.
everybody's all touchy feely. All I can tell you is it looked like he had a really like a golden tan,
Okay, good, good.
like he's been at Myrtle Beach for a while or something.
Okay. Well, man, if you're around as much light as he is, I would think that he would certainly be that. All right, let's get a question. Here's another question. Out of the live chat, put Yahweh first says, I saw the Grim Reaper at age 3 at Holiday Inn in Terre Haute, Indiana. My mom rescued me and he fled. Is the Grim Reaper an evil spirit?
Yeah, I think it's demonic, in my opinion. It's funny because I have a lady friend, Mara. She might even be watching. She has gifts like me, who's a medium, but she's actually seen the Grim Reaper before.
Oh.
It's very big and tall, and God bless her. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but she said it was like 9 or 10 feet tall. To me, it feels more in the line of a fallen angel. And the book, I love the Book of Enoch. There's like 210 fallen angels there, and the Book of Enoch is still playing out right now. That's not in the past. And so I think it is a fallen angel, and it is worse than a demon.
I have, you can't see it, but the magic of the internet and software programs right above us is that your quote says, just know we all have a fan club in heaven. What does that mean?
It's funny, Daniel, after reading so many people over the years, and it really is like therapy to people because it's so deep and personal, and what the message again and again and again and again. That's why why I'm writing the book, why my book Love from Heaven, and why I do the stage stuff, because it's a bigger message. And the message is, they always say, spirit people, they're content, they are whole. It's hard for us to imagine what it would be like to be complete and whole. I mean, really, I don't care how much you got your crap together. Nobody really feels totally. I don't care how much you love or how much you love that. No one. It's just something slightly missing over there. You're complete. But the constant message they tell people is to live your life. Don't have regrets. It comes through. You want to go into helping animals. You want to help veterinarians with natural health, with horses and stuff. Do it. Do it.
Well,
and so they're such fans of us. They just love us so much.
Well, now that brings me to another question. Are there pets in heaven?
Oh gosh, yeah. I can't wait. I got a sign above my sofa. I love affirmations, the kind you get at, whatever, Marshalls, but it says, heaven is a place you get to see all the animals you've ever had. That's above my sofa. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely, they come through all the time. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you a really funny story. You think dogs, cats. No, birds. So I've trained in the evidential style of mediumship. Even though I was born this way, I was never going to do anything with this gift. I used to own an advertising agency for years. And as I got older, boy, they wanted me to use this. And I was like, no. So I said, well, if I'm going to do it, like anything I do, I'm going to do it right. So I trained 8 years in the evidential style of mediumship. Okay. So one of the times when we were 65 mediums, or when after the class, it was like a week. We said, let's go back to the hotel and let's practice some more. So someone said, let's practice animals. I thought it was so funny. We had iguanas come through, we had birds come through, and we even had an alligator come through. An alligator. But they're all part of God's creatures. But yes, they absolutely do. And you think, well, how can that be evidential? So there was this lady, Ruth, and I have to give her credit on this. And we were taking turns. We were all watching, and she said there was a dog around. I used to have this little teeny poodle, and he was very manly, even though he was little. And we would give him a Colonel Sanders, cut. We like that Colonel Sanders cut. And so she goes, yeah, we got. And I used to love to. I mean, don't judge me, but I used to give him a little shot of beer, and he really liked whiskey better.
Whoa.
And so it came through in the reading. He looks like Colonel Sanders, and you give him beer. I get just a little taste, and I was like, oh my gosh! And he's come through to people all the time.
So you tip the bottle every now and again, do you?
I know. They were like, yeah, I love animals, by the way.
But okay. So my question is this then: suppose somebody has a pet chicken, and then all of a sudden, KFC is shut down because of Cootie's 19. The man's got the chicken, starts looking at this pet chicken, thinking, that's a chicken dinner right there. And suppose he has that chicken for dinner. In heaven, is that pet chicken going to say, why the hell did you fry me up? That really wasn't nice. I mean,
that's an ethical question. Animals do love, honestly, we get into, there's a lot of people, especially near-death experiences. They said people that have near-death experiences as an adult. Mine were all children, except for age 28 was when I had a reaction to a pill. But that they don't like eating meat because of this very thing. So that's an ethical thing. They do feel anything. Of course, in heaven, everything is forgiven. They're like, oh, I love you anyway. But, it's an ethical thing. The chicken would forgive him. But he may have to experience, the chicken point of view.
Well, now see that. Now this is another question that I have for you. Now imagine, I don't know. I might put the question to the people in the live chat watching the show. How many people? And I think I've asked them before, but I'm going to ask them again. I'm going to ask you the question, related question. How many people in the live chat would like to get torched at the end of their life or buried? Now, I want to be buried. I don't want to be torched. Because it seems to me, when you get torched, you get into little things. So, are those ashes reassembled what if somebody scatters your ashes? Are you guaranteed a slot in heaven, or are they going to find all your particles? How's that go?
Once you are departed, once you're departed from the body, you're free. You could give a flip about it. You know what it's like doing? Let me tell you. It's like taking a tissue and throwing it. You could care less about the body. Now, we're very attached to the body right now because we get to go do fun things with this thing. Get in a car, ride around, do stuff, get on motorcycles. But you are not interested in that. However, there are, I have run past lives. I ran one in particular that showed, it used to be a thought process that when you were buried, that you would wait, you would be, I'm not getting into a political thing, okay, or a religious thing. I'm just making a comment here that way back like 1800s, they had a bell in there, to make sure you were dead.
Right.
But I was dead. But I hung around the coffin because you're supposed to do that to wait for Jesus to come get you to resurrect you. So I was there, and I kept seeing me rot and all that. Finally, I said, this is ridiculous. So then I took off. But it doesn't really matter. Once you're gone, you could care less about your body. I personally would like to be, ashes to ashes, because I don't want to make a mistake and hang around a rotting corpse.
A lot of corpse?
A rotting corpse.
Oh, a
That's
rotting
why
corpse.
when you walk through a graveyard, you feel there's people here. Oh, yeah, there's people there. They're hanging around their body still.
Yeah, the smell
They're
of that
confused.
thing.
I don't know.
Well, then the smell of that thing too, man. You don't want that going on. But
And the worms coming in and out.
but I don't know if people heard you because you were kind of talking there. But I've read that about that where they would have a bell going down into your grave, and then if you come back to life, you ring that bell. Uh, Tamara Caulder Richardson, did anybody ever ring that bell?
What do you mean? Ring it when? No, I mean, yeah, in the past, 1800s, yeah, they didn't have the technology to know. They didn't have a medical doctor to go in and say, oh, they're dead for sure, 100% they're dead.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have that technology back then.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes someone may slip in a coma, so they'd wake up and they'd have that bell. So some people actually have a fear of being buried because of probably some past life scenario where they were buried alive.
Okay. Dreamwalker says he wants to know, are there mosquitoes? So, I mean, are there mosquitoes and spiders and snakes? I mean, are there
No, not that I can recollect. Who I like that really I think had a good take on this, who was brilliant beyond his years, was Emanuel Swedenborg, who was born in the 1700s. He was an industrialist, but then he was also a Christian, but he was more of a mystic Christian, and he wanted to know, what is the state of heaven? What do they do there? And then he started channeling. He said eternity, right, eternal, is a state of beingness. What does that mean? That means like here stuff rots, there's bugs, they bite you, mosquitoes, there's terrible mosquitoes in the south. But we don't, in heaven, the eternal quality is nothing rots. We don't get old. It's eternal in that state, and until we decide we want to come back. Why we do it, I don't know. But in that state, there's no rot, there's no disease, there's no pestilence, there's none of that. It's a beautiful day without worrying about mosquitoes being bitten. So why are they here? I don't know. But
Look,
eternity is a state of beingness.
Okay.
But every day here, things rot and decay and age.
I just want to know.
Us.
I just want to know if they got bacon up there, because if they do, I'm gonna check in early. But
it's funny. It's so funny. I remember one time it was like I was at a private house, and it was a fancy house, and I had about 12 people there, and their relatives came through and told them it's them. It was them, all right. But then they kept talking about fried okra and fried chicken.
Fried okra?
And they were looking at me so confused, and bacon. And they were looking at me, what? Like, why would they so? Because they don't have that there in heaven. I want to write a book. There's no grease in heaven. Because they come back and they talk about the food because they don't have that there.
But you're saying there's something better than bacon and okra.
I mean, fried okra, banana pudding, chocolate cake, they don't, pimento cheese, they don't have that there.
Okay. All right, got this question from Gord out of Canada. It says, he says, hi, Tamara. It says, I've heard there are 7 levels of heaven. How many NDEs are just in the entry room, like St. Peter's Gate, or maybe not even in heaven at all?
Oh, wow. That's kind of a big question. Let's break that one down. Okay. First of all, are there 7 levels? I've heard there's 7 levels, but I've intuitively been told 12. I can't prove any of this to you. I can't prove it. My friend Mara, she gets 12 too. I know that Derek Prince of Derek Prince Ministries, he's a very brilliant man, but he would say there's 3. There's 3 levels of heaven. There's 12, but that's one aspect. 7, I don't know. I get there's 12. And what was the other part of the question?
The other part was how many near-death experiences are just in the entry room? I guess what he's saying
like
is
the lobby.
Yeah.
The lobby.
Yeah, like the lobby.
Well, I don't know that, but I can't tell you how many. I mean, I wouldn't know that, but I will talk about what the lobby is. The lobby. Most people go somewhere. Okay, so one of my NDEs, I was in the galaxy, and like we're looking at space, like Star Trek. So that wasn't really, that was someplace, wasn't the place we thought of, or those levels, right?
Okay.
It depends how far that you do go. Where did I want to go with that? What was that last part of the question? I did want to make a point on that.
Well, we're talking about the entry room. So
I don't see it really as you go to a lobby. What I call it is the Merc. I call it the Merc, and that's a place. I'll give you an example. I read this lady, and she wanted help with, I don't know, her career, and I'm like, I hear you, I respect that, but I'm going to give you what you need. And some guy came through, the love of her life, and it was a big healing session, and talked about how he died, overdose of drugs. He was a professor, and she had been praying for him. Well, I grew up, I'm going to talk about the Merc, okay? I grew up Presbyterian. We didn't talk about purgatory. I didn't know about it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And we would say there's no such thing, blah, blah, blah. But I've had purgatory come through a lot, and it's not really a bad place. It's kind of the in-between in readings. But with this guy, I call it the Merc. He's not in a good place. He's not in a bad place. And he had a really crappy attitude. He would cuss God. He hated God. Do you really think he's going to be in a higher vibration with that? So this purging is the purging of the crappy attitude. Mm-hmm. So people would pray for him. He would hear their prayers, and he would go, losers. But when she prayed for him, he's like, man, this is the only way I'm going to see her again unless I cross over. So the prayers helped him cross over. In the Merc, he was in this gray area, not good, not bad. And then when he said crossed, he was happy. He looks good. He's got a tan. So to me, that gray area it's not really a holding room. There's something that's holding people back from moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've met people that seem like they don't have a soul. I don't know how, some feeling. It's an unction I got. Like, I don't know if they're real or not. And I'm sure everyone has crossed paths with somebody that has given them the creeps. You know, and that's how we would explain, man, that guy gave me the creeps, or that woman gave me the creeps, you know. Is that a perception that's built into us to know that because the Bible does say be careful to entertain strangers, for some have entertained angels unawares, but perhaps we've entertained demonic angels, because there are demonic angels.
Oh, Lord,
maybe we've entertained them unawares.
I mean, I could tell you stories. I unfortunately know a lot about that area too, not because it happened to me, it's because I've had discernment as a child. I can see demons and see angels. And they can. Generally, they try to work through people. Demons, they try to work through people. Unfortunately, these days, this is sad to say, a lot of people invite it in. Why? Well, I've heard different things. It's crazy. I want to be a part of a group. Then some people don't think it's serious, and they play around with like Ouija, or they do stuff, or they look into satanic stuff, or what have you. But they give that open doorway, and then they come in. I have seen 2 fallen angels. They're very powerful. They're on the level of like an archangel, but maybe not as powerful. But the way I look at it is God's angels are limitless, and God's angels kick ass. So I'm never worried. But they can present themselves. I will say it's the demons usually try to, what does the Bible say, steal, kill, and destroy. The fallen angels like to inhabit people that are powerful and take over.
Well, this is a loaded question, but is there anybody that you suspect that's on the national scene that fits that category?
Yes. Gosh, Daniel, why are you doing this to me?
Got to get the truth.
I know. It's sad.
Just let it out. Go ahead.
No, look, I can't positively say, but I do believe there are people in politics now that have a very dark agenda that is very satanic, and that has to do with depopulation, and it has to do with really bad control. But to me, it just feels like it's a spiritual warfare between good and evil. It's not really even politics, but there are some people that in higher places, including Hollywood, that they're full-on satanic, baby-eating, blood-drinking, devil-worshiping freaks. And the thing is, it seems like Jesus told me a year and a half ago. He woke me up. I was, he was talking like crazy in a dream to me. And I woke up and I said, Lord, he's still talking. So I started writing it down because I thought, well, hey, it's Jesus. I better not forget this.
Right.
And he started telling me this stuff, and it's answering to your question. And I thought, and I wrote it down, and I'll be happy to share it with you sometime. But it was like 13 pages, 14. And I'm like, why are you telling me this? This is weird. And he began to tell me something like this. He said that there would be churches established called, and there were like 3 or 4 different names, but that one was like the Church of Advancement, and they had other names. He wrote down some, and he said they were Luciferians. And he said that would be a religion. And I said, well, what would happen to the Christians? And he said, oh, they wouldn't bother with them. They laugh at them. They're arrogant. They laugh at them. I said, well, what would happen with them? He said they would want to move out of the influence. A lot of them would choose to move further out than be in the cities. And he said that they would be bold, and that even people that got involved, that they would find out eventually it's the whole blood ritual, blah, 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 right? It would just what you would think. And he began to say that that pedophilia, this was like a year and a half ago or more. He said that would be a sexual preference way before all that stuff came up. And then he began saying that the agenda that was going on, and that they are that the fallen angels basically want to take over, just like they did in the book of Enoch. And he told me all this stuff, and I'm like, why are you telling me? What can I do about it? But I think he honestly, I think he wants us to pray for each other. I do.
There's a show on Netflix called Cuties, which seems to me is nothing more than pedophilia, the marketing of that, sex with kids. It does seem to be some darker agenda. And I know in the last month, I've saw 3 or 4 articles of federal authorities finding 30 or 40 children at a certain place used for sex trafficking. And it seems to be more and more of that. Now, I'm not going to throw this in the political realm, but I can say there's some kind of law in California just got passed that says sex with underage boys is perfectly fine out there. So there does seem to be some sinister attempt there, and it just reminds me of Rome. That Rome had that kind of thing going on before it fell.
And you know what? Actually, I cannot believe you're saying. I got the chills that you just said that. Oh my gosh, I got the chills, because that was what Jesus said in there. He said Rome, and I also do on the you can see it on my website, Christ Academy of Love, and there were only 15 channel messages from Jesus for now. He didn't want to for what's going on kind of now. And messages and instruction, but that message, and also it's on there. He talks about Rome. He started naming great places. He said it was not Rome destroyed, was not so and so destroyed. When it gets to a certain point, he talked about abomination. This is an abomination, but like when I heard New York was going to have abortions up to 8 months, like 8 months. Or up to birth, or 9 months, meaning a full-grown baby. I mean, somebody would like that baby. That's murder. I thought immediately the Satanists want that baby. That's what I thought. Satanists want the baby because they love that stuff. And it's hard to believe, but people need to wake up and realize that it is out there. They don't need to live in fear, but they do need to be a prayer warrior. This has nothing to do with if you're a Hindu or Jewish or Christian or where. Our Creator, we need to pray for all of us, for safety and for a better place.
Well, let me gross you out here.
Oh no.
This Cuties thing, back to that, has repercussions. Now, for those who don't know, the Netflix series Cuties is little girls twerking in front of men, and it goes on to where somewhere in there, a little girl takes her clothes off and sends out a nude selfie. There's a phenomena I just saw today going on TikTok, and the phenomena is I don't even know how to explain how evil this is. Women are taking their babies, they hold them up for the camera, then they toss them, and then they start twerking. That came through my Facebook feed today, and I said, what the hell is this?
I'm confused. Now, they have a baby, and they throw the baby. Then the woman twerks?
And then the woman twerks.
What is that? I don't get it.
I am not even kidding you. I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at that. I was going to show my wife, and I forgot. looking at it, couldn't believe it. But what it is, it's kind of like the ice chest game, or how something goes through the internet. Well, here's what it is. And now in TikTok, there's women, they hold the baby up to the camera, and you see them toss them, and then they turn around and twerk. That's a direct thing from cuties. And it's like, I'm thinking, what kind of evil mind comes up with this? Only a satanic demon. These people have to be demon possessed.
Yes,
I don't know where these kids are
absolutely.
going. They go off camera.
Absolutely.
I saw
Yep.
even a little boy take his brother or somebody and just throw him off the camera. And it's the craziest thing you ever seen. But that's a direct result of that.
Here's the thing. This is where I differ a little bit with Howard Storm, and I respect and think he's wonderful. He's like, oh, that many people aren't demon possessed. Yes, they are, because I can see them on them. And they know that I can. So sometimes they'll manifest in front of me. It's not pleasant. Which is why Jesus mentioned in the Bible that, the highest message you can give is about heaven and God and all that. And it pisses the demons off. It pisses them off.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I love a piss a demon off. Hey, we got in our background now is a screenshot of something called Christ Academy of Love. Did you start that?
I did. And so I was told March 17th by Jesus that he wanted to get me to give messages to people. I wasn't excited. Okay, I'm just going to tell you. I said no twice. I went, no, I don't feel very comfortable with that. And then he said, no, I want you to give messages. And I was like, no. And then finally, the third time, I was like, really? I can't really tell him no a third time. So seriously, I was so nervous doing that for like a couple months, like my hair was thinning out. I was like, I still have a lot of hair. But the point is, it was very unnerving. I would get up in the middle of the night, and and it would be, my husband like, what are you doing? It'd be in the middle of the night, and I would start writing what he would tell me every couple hours. And he finally said, look, this is making you a nervous wreck. Why can't we just sit down in a very quiet place and sit there and relax? And I'll just tell you. And I went, oh, wow, that'd be so great. We could do that. He goes, well, of course we can. So he had certain messages to give to people. What was really cool is the messages he gave, he would give me scripture. Well, I didn't know that, I'm not like a Bible scripture expert, and I would go, oh my gosh, when I would look it up, Hebrews or whatever, it would be exactly what he said. And that was super cool. But he had a finite amount, because what I see, I guess I can, be so bold to say what I feel, I would do a prayer, give his message, and then say, this is my take on it. You can think what you want. This is what I think it means. But he had a limited amount, because I feel like some things are going to happen. He was trying to give instruction to people to prepare themselves, and spiritually and also physically, and to be prepared for that. So I do have a finite amount, because time is running out. It's what it's not too late. It's never kind of too late.
Okay, well,
but he's trying to wake people up.
Okay, so what do you mean time is running out for what? The end of the world? Cataclysmic event?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I think it's multiple, because I asked him that, because this is not always pleasant for me. It's very nerve-wracking. It's a lot of responsibility, and but yes, and I hate to, but yeah, what I'm seeing is these, the riots, and I'm not talking about causes. I'm talking about people just wanting to be mean and ugly. It's going to be what I keep seeing repeatedly. It's going to the neighborhoods now, and that's what I don't know when it's going to happen. When I see stuff, I don't know when it's going to happen. Always. Like in March, after the COVID thing, and they had talked. Now this is before we were supposed to be in the house and all. And I was going to the chiropractor and had to go to the store. I was like, man, the energy feels weird here. What's going on? I said, something isn't right. It's before we were, to be home. So I went home, and I told my husband, I said, look, I never use this gift for me or for gain or anything like this. But we need to find out what's going on. And so he took a paper. I said, you just ask me stuff, and I'm going to sit here, I'm going to say a prayer, and I'm just going to go, because I can go boom like that into a trance. So I was told about the riots and all this stuff before it happened. I was told what kind of, I mean, this might be controversial, but I was told how many bullets to buy.
Wow. What I, I I might have missed it. What did you say is coming through the neighborhoods?
They're gonna. It's what I'm being told. And again, Daniel, I wish I knew when, because look, I'm a human. I live in this world too. You know, it affects me. But I was told through my angels and Jesus that it's going to be um, the the riots, whatever, an organized effort
Mm-hmm.
is going to come to terrorize the neighborhood, suburbia.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be, and that part of it's going to be soon. I'm seeing something into September, October, and then again in December, something really bad, and I don't know what that is. I think that there'll be ruckuses. Maybe it's December. I don't know. And maybe something again in the spring, but
Mm-hmm.
also I'm seeing food shortages.
Mm-hmm. Well, this part of our interview, I can tell that you're taking that very seriously, and it seems as really affecting you to even think about what you've been told. But you said you were told how many bullets to have.
Well, look, I didn't. I said, do I need to protect myself? And you know what I was told? That four men would come to my house. And I said, are they demon possessed? And I heard all four of them were.
Hmm.
But think about it. Um, if you look at the people, if you look at the pictures of the main guy who took over, what was that town in Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at, he looks like the Joker. And if you look at, he was what, a transsexual porn star? I don't even know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at his eyes, he's possessed.
Mm.
Well, anyone who wants to take over a city, there's no explanation there. I mean,
Mm.
you got to be a little cuckoo.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at people's eyes,
Mm-hmm.
they are the windows to the soul. You can tell, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that people need to pray for discernment. They need to know the difference.
Well, now see, that goes back to my question in the first hour. Can you tell? And of course, I didn't say eyes, but that is one of the ways that I've seen what I feel is nothing behind those eyes. And I don't know how
Right.
many, and I don't know how people turn their eyes black, but there are those same people that seem like they have black eyes. And I
They
don't know.
do. I've seen it. It's horrible. I don't know how it's. I mean, literally, not like someone stunned their eyes get dark. I mean, like their whole freaking eyeballs dark. Their whole is. I don't know how that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not even scientifically possible.
Mm-hmm.
I was one lady I was reading. I'll show you a manifestation. A pretty girl. She was a pretty young girl in her 20s. And I was doing this event. I do Southern Women's Show. And we go to different cities, convention centers. I do the stage thing. And I also do limited readings while I'm there. So this young girl, she worked at one of the booths. She's seen me for a while. And she got a reading. And she looked sweet and wholesome. And she's sitting down, but something was off.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm good, but I'm not perfect, But I
Mm-hmm.
know that God will eventually reveal this to me. It won't go on too long, but she's sitting down, and I start getting, it felt all my stuff is real pleasant and it's not as beautiful and not dark, but it was dark. And saying your husband's so and so, and you got a thing over the ceiling. And I said, Jesus, why are you telling me this? And he was standing here. I felt his presence right here, which should have been an indicator. And when I usually don't touch people. I don't really like, I mean, I'm a hugger, but I don't need to touch people because I'm not connecting to them. I'm connecting to God,
Right,
up here.
right.
So, and she took my hands, and her hands were on one side royal blue. And I thought maybe she's been messing with paint. And I said, what's going on? And then she goes, I don't know. It was a really creepy.
Wow.
And as I began to talk to her, hand turned royal blue.
Wow.
I've never seen that before. And so what I did is I put my hands and the energy over it. And I said, Jesus is here. And he began telling her that he wanted to help her and her to come to him. I was going to do a deliverance. And she said, no, it was too strong on her. But it was very odd because I saw the young girl there and the demon. And then when
Wow.
I left, I have this holy oil and holy water and all this stuff that my Bible-based essential oils, and I get it from Italy. And I said, would you like some of this? And when I realized in that particular time that thing was afraid of me.
Wow.
Because I don't have a problem with doing like a Jesus smackdown.
Mm.
I mean, especially with something that's demonic, but it's free will. It's
Mm.
free will, and a cute girl too.
Uh, now, is Wyatt Earp? He 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 married Josephine, and then Josephine wrote a book later around when Wyatt Earp died. I think it's The Adventures of Josephine or My Life with Wyatt Earp. Is your husband going to write a book, My Life with the Southern Belle Medium?
It's so funny because you're saying Josephine. My great grandmother was named Josephine. Um, he's like a freaking saint. Matter of fact, that was one of my near-death experiences. I said, I just can't go back and do this because I had abuse surrounded around my near-death experiences and sexual abuse. And I said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, I'm sending you someone. I'm like, but it was him. He's like an angel. He's so patient and easygoing, and he's just like sheriff's in town. He's very honest, but I mean, you wouldn't believe so many times we just stayed. We just went to Hilton Head for a little bit on vacation. Gorgeous place, condo, but there was a freaking I don't know. It looked like a dark spirit trying to get in. I got it on photograph multiple times, so I have to go through on a freaking vacation, do the holy water, to bless the house, do the freaking prayers, and it's not my place, so I can't claim it. I just said, I'm a child of God. You're not welcome around here. Till I'm gone, you got to stay away. But, yeah, I mean, we're on vacation. Yes, this is the kind of crap he has to put up with.
That's the kind of crap he's got to deal with now. Then, hey, now you were talking about the head of I don't know if you said anti-fall, but you said the guy looks like the Joker, and he's gross looking, and his eyeballs all messed up, indicating there's evil presence there. Now, there is a biblical precedence for that, where I think it might have been in the book of Daniel. Somebody can correct me in the live chat if I'm wrong, but
Daniel prophecies.
Yeah, and it said Daniel was praying for an answer, but the prophet said, or somebody told, maybe an angel told him that tried to get the answer to him, but the spirit over the city blocked him for some time, maybe 6 or 8 weeks, blocked him from getting down. And so that tells us that there are spirits over certain geographical areas. And so you can look at around the country and that they have turned to the dark side in these places. And I'm sure there people are calling for power, just like the Nazis did. They tried to tap in. They knew that power existed. That's why they sent their Nazi people to go. They wanted to get the Ark of the Covenant. They wanted to get the spear, the Holy Grail. They believed that artifacts would empower them to be successful. They believed in these spirits over cities. So I'm thinking we're seeing the manifestation of that.
Absolutely. Hey, you're preaching now, Daniel, because let me tell you what, I got chills all over me. And when that happens, that means the angels are going, yes. Anytime I get the chills, like good chills, and that's yes, confirmation. That's exactly what you're saying. I mean, people, you know what it is? People have bought so much into in the past, their business card, what it means, blah, blah, how big their car, how big their home, blah, 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 blah. That don't matter. I mean, yeah, you should have goals and go for things. That's cool. But you got to put it in perspective, and we are spiritual beings, having a human experience. And there are people that want shortcuts, that they would give their soul. I mean, just like, that movie, whatever, the baseball player, they give your soul to the devil. And people will do it like no big deal. If you look at people's eyes, and if you look at them close enough, you can sometimes see their face morph. I'll tell you another weird one. When I was doing another public show, and it was a friend of mine, and she's, I don't know, I guess she's agnostic. She's kind of highfalutin, and she was helping me out at my booth, and people, lining them up and stuff. So we had a mother-daughter at the end. Well, it was the last person I was reading. I'd done 2 stage things, and I was tired, and it was my last one. We were going to leave and go out to eat. Well, they come up, first of all, with liquor in their hands. I was like, I don't know where they got it. And I was like, no, this is sacred. You can do it later. And then I'm looking at, there was a mother, probably a late 50s daughter, maybe 35. And I'm looking at the daughter, and she had short, dark hair. To me, I mean, she wasn't bad looking, but to me, she was hideous. And her face kept waffling in and out. Like those old, like in the old window makings, the way they used to have it, where it'd be not solid, it'd be kind of waffly.
Yeah, right. I know what
That's
you're
what
talking
her face looked like, or like a fun house.
about.
And I thought, what's going on with my eyeballs? That's what I was thinking. And it was her face, and I'm doing like this, and to the point that I'm gawking, I'm staring at this person. And so I had to say something. I said, "Oh, are you related?" And then the daughter says, "I came out of her body." And I'm like,
Whoa.
"Well, that's just weird." Okay. And so she sits down, and the mother get a little bit of a reading, whatever, all the spirit people, because they don't like demons. They all pulled back, and all the angels came forward, and I just said, "Let me pray." And I started praying. I was speaking in tongues, and it said, "I can do that too." And when my mouth opened up, I didn't even know what came out, but it was the Holy Spirit said, "You're demon possessed. This is where you got it. It's in your bag. Da 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 da." And then the thing reared back and started laughing and goes, "Ha ha 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 ha." It was entertained. It said, "You're good." The mom, I felt horrible for her, and she's like, "What's going on?" She goes, "Well, I got this thing out of exorcism, blah, 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 blah." I said, "Look, I'm going to give you demonologist. She needs a full exorcism. Thank you very much. Stand up with me." And it didn't even hit the air as I'm getting ready to spray the holy water. Didn't even hit the air. And it went like this, and I have holy water from Lourdes, Italy, frankincense, myrrh, sandalwood, hyssop, which the ecclesian said that demons can't even stand the smell. As soon as it hit the air, that girl's voice turned into a man's electronically, not like a human couldn't make it.
Wow.
Okay, like electronic synthesized, and said, "If you buy it, I'll throw it out." And the mother turned white. I said, "You need this." And I said, "I got a big bottle of this." She goes, "For what?" I said, "For you." And she was whatever. So then they come out of my booth area. I'm back in, okay, and I'm thinking to sleep. And the demon girl leans over and threatens me and says, "You better say your prayers of protection tonight," in a creepy voice. And luckily, I thought quickly, and I said, "I am always protected by the blood of Jesus. Jesus got my back." She started hissing at me like a snake. So we got our stuff. My friend, who's not a non-believer, heard it. Several people heard it. We go to the car. We leave. We see the person waving. She looked very possessed. My friend called her the crazy girl. I was like, "That's fine." So I go back and bless the hotel room. And I'm begging, and I hate to admit it, but I was begging. I was like, "Oh God, it's gonna be sucking tonight." I was begging for Jesus to show up. So around 4:15, I had to get up at 7. Jesus shows up and starts talking to me, and I was like, "Oh, thank you." And he just talks like no big deal. He goes, "Yeah, they're wretched, aren't they? They're horrible." And I was like, "Yes." He said, "They're like vermin." I went, "Yes." And he said, "Well, you know what you're doing? You're talking about the highest message, that God's real and heaven exists, and so do I." He said, you drew it out. I didn't like it. And he says, "I'll tell you what, you give, and tomorrow you're going to have two women from a charity come by, and I want you to give that money to them." I said, "That's a great idea." And he said, "Well, I'm not going to stop talking about heaven's real and whatever. You're just going to have to give me more angels." He said, "Well, that's been arranged." So the next day we go in, an hour later, 2 women from the food bank come. We give that money to cash to those women. But it's real, man. I've seen stuff.
Well, sure sounds like you've seen stuff. Wow. Man, what do you do with that? I mean, now, so you caused that demon to manifest.
Because I was talking about, well, all right. I did. And it's sort of a compliment. Because I'm asking the angels to fill the room with this auditorium with people and to do whatever they need a healing. So I opened a portal too of 111 God and asked for the angels to all look after everybody and whatever they need in their life. And then I talk about heaven, and I talk about seeing Jesus over there, and then I would give a demonstration that heaven's real. And it pissed it off. And so there are people now that if I meet someone that hates me, they usually have a demon on them. I'm just saying it, to be honest.
Well, I would say the demon would be able to identify the Christ in people, and it would just piss them off by even being there. You mentioned the eyes, and I have this picture that came through Facebook, and it has to do with COVID. But because we've talked about the eyes several times, Now you can't see this, but I'll describe it. I don't think you can see this. You have to watch the video. But
I will.
but what is what I have in my background now is a menu from England, and there's a place called London Fields, and they have a place called the Tap Room within this bar, and so they have directions of how to handle COVID. But these directions say this. It says, so it's on every table. It says a face covering is required when entering or exiting. Use alcohol to get before entering the tap room, which is the bar section. Now listen to this. No handshaking, high-fiving, or extended eye contact with anyone that's not around your table. Now, I thought, what the hell is that? No eye contact as part of COVID mitigation or COVID protection is ridiculous. And I'm thinking, why are they talking about the eyes here?
You're onto something. I knew you're a sharp guy. Well, if you notice this whole COVID thing, and let's say you're walking past someone, you got a mask, right? I don't know, through the hardware store, wherever you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
People won't even look. I'll nod at them. I'll go, hey, hey, you're a human, that kind of thing. But it's gotten people all freaked out that they don't even make eye contact. But I think I'm not saying the China virus isn't real. I'm not saying that, okay? Which I personally think is a bioweapon, and we got major screwed on that. But the thing is, I'm not saying that. But what I am saying, I think, is exacerbated beyond whatever to get people in a fearful state, to encourage that fear, to encourage people to live and to not be unified.
Mm-hmm.
It's more,
Right.
Let's separate us all out, and
Mm-hmm.
let's separate us through race. Let's separate. And the thing is, I have a lot of Hispanic, African American friends, and they think this is a bunch of crap. They're like, look, we're one race under God. We're God's children. That's all that matters. But the goal is to separate and divide and keep people in fear. And if you trace it back, it's a very dark agenda.
Well, we're getting near the end of the broadcast, Tamara Caulder Richardson. I just want to say we got to end it on a positive note.
Yes, we do. Well, the good news is, even we were saying the spiritual warfare and all that, is that we know who wins.
Okay.
God wins.
Okay.
And God has always protected people that love him. And we have to know that. Always. There's so many examples in the Bible with that. We can't control what other people do, but we can control what we do and where our hearts are. And there will always be. I've had things that, my gosh, my angels work overtime. And I'm always looked after in the worst of situations. I don't go looking for that, but we need to know that there's a higher power going on here, that it's good and it's whole. And if you look at it this way, if we need God to come kick some ass a little bit, because there's all this, like with the child, sex trafficking and all this
Mm-hmm.
other crazy stuff going on, and violence, like you said, Rome, if we need order, God usually doesn't intervene. But if we need something, then we need to trust in God to do that we will be protected and spared.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we have a loving God.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh gosh, okay.
Like I've been doing all night long.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly. Like that doesn't happen.
but no, if you were to say issue a prayer for revelation, or for peace, or for safety, or for the demonic hordes to be pushed back, how would you frame that prayer?
Let's do it right now. Father God, creator of all things, I just ask everyone watching this broadcast that their lives, their families, their home, their property, their cars, their pets, that be protected, that you send your mighty, mighty holy angels out and do spiritual warfare for us and keep us safe and keep us under the wing of the Most High and the Alpha and the Omega. And we just give you our love and thanks for just protecting us during all this craziness. We understand the situation is deep, and we turn it over to you, God. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Well, all right. Well, Tamara Caulder Richardson, I appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast. Now, I've got your your logo right on the above. So what can people find out?
Okay.
And a link to your website on our website. So what can they find by going to your website?
Okay, so I have my near death. I have several videos on there where I go in depth to each one. I have where if they want to book a reading, I do it all over the world, Zoom and Skype, even phone, but all over the world, works exactly the same. And it's very loving. Jesus sometimes likes to show up. I can't promise that, but he likes to show up. And then there's also links. I have the Seeking Heaven show where I'm doing something similar, and you're going to be my guest coming up.
That's right.
In October.
Now, when is that? October 1st?
I think it's October. Yeah, 1st. I think you're right. I was like, is it the 10th or the 1st? I think you're right. Okay. And we'll just talk about all the coolest shows you've had and what you've learned and where you are now. Maybe you'll share a little bit of yourself because you do a lot of research, I see.
Yeah.
So, so that'll be on there. And then the Christ Academy of Love and some other things. And I'm also starting a school, I'm calling it a spiritual wisdom school, but it's just for regular people. Just when I get information to help them with grieving or whatever.
Okay. All right, Tamara, I appreciate you coming on the Edge Television broadcast, and I'll see you on your show in a week or so.
Awesome. We're going to have a blast. Thank you so much for having me. You're a delight.
Great. And thank you for coming on the show.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody.